Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Doswell. I am the founder of Models of Color Matter. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the pitfalls of the modeling industry. Um, I created Models of Color Matter in order to help to create a space where the models of color are taken care of behind the scenes. Um, it is becoming extremely important as brands are looking to diversify and utilize more models of color in their campaign. And I want to make sure that models that are entering into the industry kind of know the ins and outs and also how to protect themselves. Um, so hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. So if you have any questions during the workshop, feel free to drop the questions in the box and I will get to them. But I wanted to start off today by talking about actually hearing some encounters with models about the industry. So you can kind of learn a little bit of the ins and outs, what to expect when entering into the industry, and kind of the not so glamorous part of being a model, because there are going to be things where, and people that are going to try to test your morals when you enter into the industry. So I kind of wanted to give you some insight. And this is from a series from Vogue called Models. And it speaks to models kind of about what their experience is behind the lens, behind the glamour that you see. So let me pull this up for you and give you a chance to look at, this is them explaining kind of the dangerous parts.
Agencies don't have their models' best interests at heart
it?
because if they did, they probably wouldn't make as much money.
I'm a model.
I'm a model.
I am a model.
I'm a model.
I'm a model.
The model apartment that I lived in was like the biggest rip-off ever.
You got a 2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms with fucking 7 people there. Every girl was paying $1,200, and that's 7 people. So 1,200 times 7, that's a pretty good chunk of change. I mean, we could afford another bedroom in there. Come on now.
There's nothing really comfortable about the job. Multiple people are touching your face and your body all day long. I remember the Fendi show that I walked in. The hair look for that season, I believe, was some sort of braid, almost like a cornrow. Like tears were streaming down my face because for like 2 hours he was trying to braid my hair. And then my agent was like, oh yeah, you shouldn't have cried.
When a photographer comes up to you and moves you around like you're a mannequin, picks up your arm and positions it, moves your chin, I find that incredibly insulting, especially if you're nude. Just don't touch me.
I think a lot of male photographers ascend in their careers because they are charming or good looking. And so like enduring conversation with them often is uncomfortable because there's a level of flirtation, but also sort of like diminishment. It became extremely challenging to be in these environments where you're supposed to be accommodating, placating, pleasing to idiots who are just chipping away at anything that you might value about yourself beyond like what you look like.
I was just naturally always sexy, if that makes sense. So I think I would be put into these shoots that were sexier. One of my older friends took me to the set and the photographer tried to put me in these like little tiny bathing suits and was like, it's okay if things fall out. And I'm like, no, I'm 13. This is not okay.
I was a kid, so I felt very submissive to all of these people who I equated as authority figures. If I was told to do something, I did it. I wanted to do a good job at this crazy opportunity that I was presented with.
I was shooting catalog, and one day there was a new girl that came in, and she was shooting, and I was trying to get to know her, and so at lunch we were chatting. She had asked me, agency asked me if I would be willing to go on a date or to go out with this guy, and they were willing to pay me. I think it was like $2,500 or $3,000. I don't remember what it was. She's like, do you do those types of things? Like, if your agency asks you, is that something you should do? Like, I don't want them to be upset with me. I remember her just being so lost and just not knowing what to make of the whole situation.
If girls kind of get trapped in a cycle of debt to their agency, or they get, pushed into prostitution, which happens, it can be really rough, There's a lot of young girls that end up that way.
A photographer that I really wanted to work with, he was doing a series of nudes for a book. The team was there, the hair, makeup, closed set. And then at one point, I think he came over to kind of rearrange my hair or something, and he tried to kiss me. And I pushed him off, and I said, "What are you doing? This is not okay with me." And of course, my heart is racing, and I'm thinking, I gotta get out of there. And I did. I grabbed the robe, put it on, walked off, got my clothes on. You can't help but think, did I do something to perpetuate this? Did I do something for him to think that it was okay?
It was in the beginning of my career, and this famous photographer was shooting a series of photos for his upcoming exhibition, and my agent thought it would be good to get in with him. I went to his apartment, and in the beginning, it was actually totally fine. The pictures looked amazing. However, at some point, he asked me if it was okay if we'd moved to the bedroom, which still, being naive, I didn't think too much of, until he was on top of me with a camera and his hand stroked my breast. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that I kind of had to get away. I made up some silly excuse that I had castings afterwards, and kind of half ran out. Then after that, he booked me on a 3-day shooting, overnighting at Shelter Island. And it was a big job, so I could not say no. And he would just give me a different call time than the rest of the crew. And when I would show up, it was only him alone in the room. And it was like dodging bullets, for 3 days in a row. Of course, I told my agent about what happened. And they told me, yeah, he's known to do that with girls.
If you don't have the right people around you, you could easily end up on a yacht with some rich guy doing loads of drugs and fall off and die, or get an eating disorder, or, just fall into the wrong hands. I don't believe in young girls getting signed or blowing up that quickly. I don't think it's fair, because it takes away a part of your innocence, something that you can never get back. I had on training wheels, so now that I had my moment, I'm actually ready to run. And I wouldn't have had it any other way.
All right, everyone. So this is kind of these are common experiences in the industry, unfortunately. My background actually is I used to be a New Faces director for several modeling agencies. I worked with children. As a men's director. I worked as the New Faces director, who signs new models. And so I firsthand have experienced models coming to me to ask me what is normal. I've had models ask me if it's normal for them to be asked to drink on set, or if a shoot turns from a commercial shoot, which is usually kind of what you see for Gap, to a more sexy shoot, maybe lingerie. And photographers will try to do things like that with models in order to essentially use their position of power to take advantage of those that they think are weaker than them. It's one of the reasons I started Models of Color Matter, having been a modeling agent. And for me, I took the role on almost as a mother figure. So I wanted to be a safe place for the models that I represented. And that's not always the case with modeling agents. I will say that if you're looking to get into the modeling industry, make sure that you feel comfortable with the person that is going to be your agent. Because that is the person that you should be able to, when you're on set and these uncomfortable situations happen, call, text, step away, and speak to them. What's normal and what's not. And it is actually part of their job to assist you and hold your hand. There are agents that will also try to use their position of power in order to take advantage of models. You do have the right to say no. You do have the right to step away. And I know that there's money involved and it makes things a little bit scary, but you actually do have rights as models. One of the kind of scary things about the modeling industry is that there actually isn't a organization that looks out for you, kind of like there are for actors. Sorry, I'm in New York, so there's a lot of background noise, but there isn't like SAG, there isn't a union for models that you can join that will look after you and protect you like some other industries have. But luckily, we're in a time where there are actually resources that you can use to protect yourself. So there is an organization called Model Alliance, and I push you, if you are looking to enter into the industry, to follow them on Instagram, visit their website. It's called Model Alliance, and they kind of work as a union for models. Sorry, one more. They work as a union for models, and in that situation, that is, they will, if you need a lawyer, if you get harassed on set, they will be there as a support system for you. And you do kind of need that support system. You need other people that are in the industry to kind of answer those questions that you have along the way. The other thing I wanted to address is also modeling schools. I actually, one of my first jobs was actually at Barbizon Models. I ran their agency department. And I will say this, you don't have to pay for modeling school. You don't need to go to modeling school in order for you to become a model. And that I truly believe that a lot of the skills necessary to model are things that you can learn independently. Watch runway shows, practice your walk, study in the mirror. Um, there are things that you can do to build yourself up as a model, and also try to create your squad, right? Like when you're going to set, when you're going to casting, it's comforting to see that friend in the room, and it's a tool that you can definitely use when you are looking for an agency to sign with. You want to ask other models kind of what their thoughts are on being signed to that agency. What are the agents like? What is the commission fee? Um, and these are, they're normal things to ask. You can even look up modeling agencies on the Better Business Bureau. If you can't find them there, that might be a red flag. But the reputable agencies will have reviews. There are other people that are signed there. And with social media, I don't think that there's anything wrong with sliding into the DM of a model that's working at an agency that you're maybe coveting being a part of. So use the resources that you have and talk with each other. That's going to be your biggest system. You're more powerful together. And we've seen it on, I don't know if any of you guys follow Diet Prada, but you've seen the photographers are being called out left and right for their misconduct on set. And you actually do have a voice and you do have power, however powerless you may feel when you're on set with a photographer that's shooting you for Vogue magazine. You feel powerless in that situation. They hold your career in their hand. And I think it's very important when you enter into the modeling industry to know what you are and are not okay with. And unfortunately, there are models that have slept their way to the top and are okay with paying their dues in that way and on their back. And that is not something that I want for any model to have to do. You're a professional and you should be treated like such. And I think it's an amazing time where these photographers and agents are being held to task, and you have rights. I wanted to also share with you. So, Model of Color Matter, we have an Instagram page. I'm going to share with you one of the posts we have, which is called Don't Touch the Models. This is a post that we did. It's called Don't Touch the Models, and it also shares resources with you. We did a survey in 2019 of over 60 models from New York Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, and Milan about their experience on set and as models in the industry. And these were all models of color. Over 40% of models felt that they had been taken advantage of by their agency or management. And this doesn't necessarily mean physically. It may mean that too much money was taken out of their check. They got paid late, and or potentially physically or emotionally abused. Um, so this is talking about kind of what we saw in the video there, and that you're not powerless. You do have rights. And you'll see in here some of the acts that are in place. So the Talent Protection Act is one that's located in California. And so this requires agencies to provide talents with material on sexual harassment prevention. Also, underage talent and their parents must complete training in sexual harassment prevention to obtain an entertainment work permit in California. This is in order to keep people educated, and that you do know that you have rights and that you are protected as a talent and that no one should be touching you. Next, so the Model Alliance is what I spoke to you guys about earlier. They have tons of resources for models. They just passed the Respect program, and it's a binding agreement. And there are certain organizations and agencies that have already signed it, that say that they're going to keep you safe, essentially. And so using these resources can be really helpful. So I'm also going to drop this in the chat in case anyone wants to look at that and kind of review the resources that we have. Sorry, I put it to, yeah, so I'm going to share this with all of you. So you can go through the resources. I wanted to see if anyone had any specific questions in regards to the modeling industry, any fears that you may have, any ways that you are looking to protect yourself in the industry. I'm here to kind of like be a resource for you. And that way we can also talk to maybe some of your fears. Can I get a raise a hand of people that are maybe looking to become a model? You can, those starting, okay, so we have a question. For those starting off, what will be the best resources? So depending on where you're located, there's obviously going to be a wide variety of modeling agencies. I would start off by Googling modeling agencies, and you can go onto their Instagram page and see the models that they represent. And like I said, a kind of good way to filter through is this: if you can speak to some people about how their experience is in the industry and how they like working with them. And a lot of times models are really open about their experience with agencies. Also looking into the Better Business Bureau to make sure that there's not any flagged items or anyone reporting them, because there are agencies that have been reported for various things, either late payment or harassment or mistreatment. Maybe it's a bad workplace for the agents. I would look into all of those things. And then another resource, models.com would be a good place. So let's say that you're a really huge fan of Aman and you wanted to see what agencies she was with. They actually list the agencies of pretty much almost all of the top models in the industry. A good way to get into the door of a lot of these agencies is to see if they have what's called an open call. Open calls are where you come in, they meet with you, and this is usually open to the public. So they have their requirements usually on their website when the world is open and you're able to go to open calls again. Right now, a lot of them are on pause. But open calls will allow you to meet with the agencies and also kind of get a feel for how reputable they are and how they make you feel. So that's actually, we have another question about how do you recommend models build their brand on social media. So this is something that's, I would say, is optional. However, as the industry grows to be more social media aware, you will notice that a lot more models that have social media following are getting the larger jobs. And it essentially comes down to if it's between model A and model B has, 10,000 followers and you have 500, and they're going to go with a girl with more following because then they get more impressions. Um, how to build up your social media following. That is honestly, it's a whole different world. But the main thing that I think that you want to do is be authentic to you, but also keep your page professional. I will say I know a lot of gorgeous models that have really horrible following. So it's really not even just about the images. It's about being consistent in posting, um, engaging with other people, following profiles, following photographers in your area, and it kind of it becomes an exchange. But I wouldn't so much concern yourself with your social media following as I would in building up your experience as a model, because it's all great if you're the girl with 10,000 followers and then you get in front of the photographer and you don't know what you're doing. It's really only going to get you so far. And that leads us to the next question is, do you have to build a portfolio in order to become a model? So no, you don't have to build a portfolio. However, it's all, even as you, let's say you're already a signed model, you are always going to be updating your portfolio. Your portfolio is going to grow with time. If you go into an open call, you'll go in and you'll be showing them what used to be called Polaroids, now are called digitals. And they are essentially you in your most like kind of natural form. So they're going to take a picture of your face, your full body, your profiles. They're going to take your measurements. And those digitals are what's used for new models to get booked. So before you have a portfolio, before you have um, really anything to present to clients, that's how you're going to get booked. So when you do the open calls, or you can actually, a lot of agencies are accepting submissions. So you're able to actually submit those same digitals. And I would Google model digitals or model Polaroids, and you'll be able to see exactly kind of what they're looking for. And a lot of the agencies will also call out what their requirements are. So someone said, how do you recommend getting back into modeling through social media given the pandemic? Um, so there are some photographers that are doing really amazing things and actually have been doing Zoom photo shoots in a way, as a way to continue to create content during the pandemic. Actually, I'm in New York, and I know a number of photographers that actually are back to shooting in person. Um, since we are in a pandemic, I would recommend regular testing, making sure that you can show that you're safe. Um, and really, other than that, things are, for the modeling industry, more or less starting to go back to normal. So there are in-person photo shoots that are happening. It just is kind of like where you need to put the time in to really see who you're comfortable with, like, especially because we are in a pandemic. I wouldn't suggest you just shoot with potentially a new photographer at this time that maybe you don't know, and you know how safe they're going to be. Are they going to be wearing a mask when you arrive? I would take the time to see what their protocols are, and if you feel comfortable, then shooting in person is a possibility at this point. Um, I think that it's also okay if you're shooting with someone for the first time. I do believe in the buddy system. And if you need someone that's going to be there to make sure that you're safe, then make sure that you do that, especially if it's a photographer that you've never worked with before. And you want to, yeah, I would almost always recommend the first time having someone there, even if it's not someone that's necessarily coming inside. If you just want to like let them know, so someone knows where you are and can reach you quickly if ever anything does go down. But you can build your portfolio during the pandemic. People have been doing Zoom and FaceTime photo shoots during this time. So there's definitely room for you to build a portfolio during the pandemic. All right, so someone said, I have a lifestyle brand of beauty and fashion. I'm about to launch the site next month. how and where can I get models and without cost? I don't have money to pay, just food on set and maybe $20. So the I would suggest if you're trying to do a shoot with a model, um, and you don't have money to pay, you're going to need to work with models that don't have a portfolio and bring them value in some way. So either you're working with an amazing photographer and they're going to get amazing photos from that. It's definitely going to be new faces. You're probably, if your brand is not already established and they don't see how their models, how their models are going to get value out of doing a shoot with you, agencies are not going to send you models for free, especially because usually the agreement when you're working with agency signed models is going to be for usage. And if you're looking for models for your website and your social media, that usage is usually pretty expensive. So you would probably be going with working with an unsigned model that would be okay with that type of photo shoot. Is there a website or a way to connect with agencies? All agencies pretty much have websites. So once you figure out what agency you would like to go through, then you can look at the agencies that are in your area and go to their websites and see if they have open calls. You can even call. If you don't see open calls on the website, do not be afraid to call. It's okay to call. We're used to, we get a lot of those, calls at agencies. So feel free to call the modeling agency, ask how do they go about signing new models or considering new models. Are they accepting submissions, which means you sending your photos and your measurements, the height, bust, waist, hips, shoe size, dress size. And then pretty much from there, there's not like one website where you submit and you're going to be considered by all of the agencies that are looking for models. You're going to have to put the legwork in. So the other question, how do you become an agent? That's actually a panel that I'm going to be doing at 7:30 tonight. So we're going to be talking about being a modeling agent and how I got into being a modeling agent. I'm actually I now do casting, and I also do PR and production for fashion weeks. Where do you find unsigned models? So unsigned models could be the girl that you're in school with that's just beautiful and maybe she's not with an agency and is willing to work with you. There are sites like Model Mayhem. So Model Mayhem I don't want to say it's like the Craigslist for models, but you can put your portfolio on there. You can put castings on there. For instance, the brand on here that said that they were looking for models for free, you could put that you were looking to do a photo shoot and where you're going to do the photo shoot for and post it on there, and people are able to submit on there. And it's a free platform. I believe you can pay for elevated what's it called, packages, but it's a free resource. So it says, what books or resources would you recommend for photo posing and facial expressions? So I wouldn't say that there's not like a textbook for becoming a model. I mean, there probably is a textbook for becoming a model. I don't think it's necessary. I would say to, just like in any other industry, to get your industry's standard. So if you're looking, and it depends on what kind of model you're looking to be. So if you're looking to be a runway model, go to NewYorkFashionWeek.com and watch the shows during Fashion Week and see what are the models doing on the runway. Look up articles on the shows that are getting press and what do those models look like? What are their walks? And your walk may be different and your signature is going to be different because we're each individuals. But then it's also practicing in the mirror. And some of this is kind of a way in which you're going to be able to go and practice. Really, it's just practicing. I don't want to say no one. Some people are naturals in front of the camera, but most people aren't, and you're going to get better with time. So doing things that are like a test shoot, which is usually how people build their portfolio. So once you sign with an agency, or even before you sign with an agency, you might find photographers that are in that in between time looking to build their portfolio. And they need models and you need photos. And so that's a trade for photo. Um, so that's kind of a way that people both, it's a win-win situation, so that both the models and the photographers get something out of shooting for free. Obviously, it's everyone's time is involved. So you have hair, makeup, photographers, and all parties involved are doing it for the photos. And that's a way for you to grow as a model. So you, at the beginning, you're going to take those free shoots. And after a while, you'll get work that's paying you, and you kind of wean off of doing those free shoots until you need to up your portfolio to get other kinds of jobs. And there's going to be photographers that are going to be those photographers that take your career to the next level. And your agent will be able to kind of like assist you with connecting you with those models and those test shoots. Um, Even though having a modeling agent can be a scary thing, it can also be such a really great resource for a new model, so that you can start getting booked, that you can get connected to the right photographers, because there are bad photographers, and you don't want to, and you're kind of wasting your time shooting with someone that's going to give you low resolution images that are not really usable by any agency, or not going to get you booked in a campaign. And you do your research on who's booking so that you can see who's booking work. So you want to go look at that girl that you see on a Target ad or in a magazine, and find her on Instagram, and you can kind of see the photographers that they're working with and what the caliber of photos you should be looking for when you're building your book. And so the website that I talked about before again was Model Mayhem, and I can put that in the chat as well. If you are looking, this like any other thing is, if you're, it's like almost like if you're trying to find a photographer on Instagram, utilize this as a resource, but this is not to say that everyone that's on here is safe. So do your due diligence in making sure that you know, just like if you were swiping right on someone on an app, um, do your research and look into them, and see what type of work that they're doing, and then also just be safe. Um, I think I'm spelling this right, modelmayhem.com. And so I put that in the chat. It's just a free resource. It's kind of a good way for you to start to build that network of people and photographers while you're looking for agencies. And then the other place is models.com, and they'll tell you kind of the top agencies. I think it's model.com, I think. It's either models or model.com. So then you can go there and you'll be able to see kind of what the top agencies are, because it's always good to have a goal. I'm going to go into a little bit about modeling contracts um, before we run out of time, because that's something that is really important. So when you sign with a modeling agency, they're going to offer you a contract. In those contracts, it will have everything from what commission they're going to make, and also how long you're going to be signed with them. Um, in your modeling contract, kind of what's standard is somewhere between the agency getting 15 to 20% commission on all of your bookings if you are signed exclusively. So being signed exclusively means that you are signed with this one agency, and you are not allowed to sign with other agencies during the length of that contract. There is something that's called a non-exclusive contract, which allows you to sign with multiple agencies and also to book your own jobs outside of that contract. Because under an exclusive contract, many times that means that they also get a percentage of the work you book independently. There is a benefit, even though that the exclusive contract sounds scary, there is also a benefit of the agency helping make sure that you get paid. Because the thing about booking things independently sometimes means that you're not going to get paid, and that there's no legal team behind you to push to make sure you get paid. I personally think that if you are to sign with like a Elite Models or Ford or a national modeling agency and they offer you an exclusive contract, I think that that's fine. If you are working with an agency, and actually some markets do not allow for exclusive contracts. So even though in Florida, you're not supposed to, I don't believe you're supposed to be able to have exclusive contracts. There are people that offer exclusive contracts. So also look into what the laws are in your state. Um, I it really depends on you. If you're already a working model, you may want to ask about the availability of a non-exclusive contract. If you don't know what you're doing and you're signing a contract with an agency and you want them to handle your bookings all in all, I don't think that there's anything wrong with signing an exclusive contract with an agency that you trust. Um, this is and this is where the trust comes in. The other thing is, do not feel pressured to sign a contract that you're not ready to sign. um, a lot of agents will try to pressure you to sign on the spot. They'll tell you, oh, well, we're considering all these other matters. I need to know today. If you do not feel comfortable with what you read and you do not understand the language that is in the contract, do ask them, do you mind if I take this home to read over it? And if you feel like you need legal counsel to go over the contract with, do that. Um, I think a standard contract is usually around 2 years, but there are 1 year contracts. So also be okay with asking, like, hey, would I be able to sign a 1 year contract? And also be okay with walking away from a contract that does not feel right for you. There are ways for you to get out of contracts if necessary, but if you are a money maker for an agency, they will not make it easy for you. And so I would suggest going through your contract, seeing if there's a way for you to get out of your contract should something happen. If you don't get work over a certain amount of time, um, have someone look over it. And I think that that's also something that Model Alliance does offer. I think you are able to reach out to them for lawyers that are pro bono, which means they're free. Take advantage of those kind of things. And if you have someone in your family that's a lawyer or a friend that's a lawyer that maybe wants to come to your contract signing, bring them with you, have them read over the contract with you. There's going to be things in there that you're not going to understand. And the other thing is that also know that while most agencies, they shouldn't be asking you for absorbent amounts of money. If other than you building your portfolio and resources for you being a model you should not be paying to be a part of an agency. That is not how it works. Modeling agencies make money off of commission. So that's booking you jobs. The other thing is there are expenses that you should expect. So there may be photo shoots that if they say, okay, we have these photographers that we can help get you to the point where where we can put your comp card together. And a comp card is usually a headshot on the front. On the back, it has several commercial or fashion photos, and then your measurements. Um, we need these resources in order to be able to book you. Sometimes they'll book you on test shoots and they're able to do this for free. Other times they will front you the money and they'll pay for your photo shoots, and then that money will come out of your first, second, third, however many bookings in order to recoup the money that they invested in you. So it is normal for there to be some expense with starting off with an agency, especially if you're not coming with a existing portfolio. So that is normal. But also be wary when they're trying to push a photographer on you that really is just outside of your means and they're not looking to maybe even do that trade. If you're like, okay, well, can we do this photo shoot and then it come out of my first check or something like that, there should be a way to work around it if they really are invested in you. Any other questions? All right, so you guys, I am available. You can feel free to even DM me at Models of Color Matter on Instagram. If you have any specific questions, if you run across an experience that maybe feels off or you don't feel protected in a space, I'm I'm available. I man the account. You can feel free to ask for recommendations, or if something happens to you. I've had models reach out to me when their agency hasn't paid them for months for a job that they did last year. So, there's a lot of different things that sometimes you just need some extra support systems for. So feel free to follow me on at modelsofcolormatter.com. And you can just go to at models of color, at models of color matter on Instagram. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I want to be a support system for you and help to keep you safe. One of the things that we're working on now is trying to make the backstage and on-set experience a better beauty experience for you. So there will be some more messaging coming for that in the future. As of right now, there's not a law that requires textured hair to even be taught in beauty schools. So we're fighting for that right now. So if you would like to follow that journey, you'll be seeing that on our Instagram channel in the coming weeks and months. Yeah, the Crown Act actually is, oh, that's awesome. Great, Naira. So you're on the Crown Act. So the Crown Act is what stops people from discriminating against you due to the texture of your hair. This is actually, we're looking to pass an act that will make it so that it's required in New York for the beauty schools to cover textured hair, and that for it to be required for beauticians to know that information when they are taking their boards. So I'm thinking that it's going to make a difference for models backstage. When you go onto our website, you'll also see the some of the interview responses from models that were interviewed about their experiences with their textured hair. And obviously it wasn't great. And so we're really trying to change that. I actually am a publicist now, and we do New York Fashion Week shows, Paris Fashion Week shows, London Fashion Week shows. And I've spoken to Black models in all of those spaces. And I know that this is something that is extremely trying as a Black model, to know that you're going to show up on set and you don't have and your hair, they don't know what to do with their hair, or they don't have your makeup color when you sit in their chair. I want to make sure that that's not an experience that models of color are having. And so that's something that we will be seeing changes of in the future. So I look forward to connecting with you all soon in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for those of you that are interested in possibly becoming a modeling agent, I will be speaking about that at 7:30 here on the main stage, actually. So join me then. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of the day.